Park International in Leesburg, Virginia. We are about to get underway with the 4-star short dressage. It's day one of dressage for those guys. We've just wrapped up the U.S. Equestrian Open final, part one for today. And we're going to turn our attention to these 4-star short horses in just a moment. We have 2 days of dressage here, and they are being presided over by our ground jury of Helen Christie, Peter Gray, and Bea DeGrazia. Saturday, they will turn their attention to Derek DeGrazia's course. And then Sunday, we will look forward to Chris Barnard's show jumping track. Sinead, it's been a wonderful morning.
I always am surprised how excited I get during dressage. But it has been so exciting from the beginning of the day. Ryan Wood kicking off and being at the top of the podium, and then finishing up with Philip and Denham. It's just all to play for here at Morven Park.
It is, and then, we turn our attention now to the 4-star short, and it's a cracking good class. Like, there are so many good combinations in this class. Again, West Coast riders, East Coast riders, young horses stepping up. It's really, again, another wonderful showcase for our sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's me, Z, kicking us off. He's been to the Leon World Championships of Young Horses. He's been to Kentucky at the 4-star short, and now he's here at Morven Park.
It's an incredible commitment for Tommy and his team to sort of make that team, make that commitment here to be here. And, it's gotten a bit warmer here, 63 degrees now. The wind is tamping down slightly. But again, another beautiful fall day here in Leesburg, Virginia. And we're going to catch up with Sarah down by the ring.
Well, it's been an exciting morning of competition already here at beautiful Morven Park. We've been watching the U.S. Open Equestrian Final, and now we're getting ready to start the 4-star short, which is going to be one of the qualifying events for next year's final. And I'm really excited to watch another strong field of competitors here at Morven Park. As you can see, they're warming up here behind us. The weather so far has been a little bit of an impacted some horses this morning because, yesterday was a good 15 degrees warmer. And so I'm kind of curious to see if that trend takes over, where people are trying to stay on these fit horses and produce quiet and lovely dressage tests. But I don't know. Here we go. It's another wonderful lineup, and back up to you, Annie and Sinead.
A quick commercial break before we get underway with the action here in the 4-star short at Morven Park.
We fly horses anywhere around the world, whether it is a hobby horse or it's an Olympic champion. It's about getting an animal from point A to point B safely, in best of health, and in the quickest possible of time. We understand the business better than anybody else. We do not leave any stone unturned, and we are staffed by horse people from every layer of the company. We give horses wings around the world, across the globe, or across the street.
A John Deere 3 Series tractor lets you tackle those bigger jobs with simple, intuitive controls that put the power in your hands and quick connect solutions to swap implements quickly with ease. From rotary cutter to rotary tiller to front loader. Take on all your property's biggest challenges. You just have to get in the seat.
The U.S. Equestrian Open Eventing Final is brought to you by Great American Insurance Group, the official equine insurance sponsor of the U.S. Equestrian Open, the Duda Corp, the official equine air transportation partner of U.S. Equestrian, and Yeti. Mars Equestrian, a better world for horses, pets, and people. We are about to get underway here with the 4-star short at Morven Park. We see the warm-up area there at this beautiful, beautiful venue. And we are going to have, kick us off here is going to be That's Me Z and Tommy Greengard from the West Coast, Rachel Lawson and High Tide, Ariel and Cooley Baltic Sea. Zach Brandt of Florida will be fourth in the ring, Sarah Beth Anton, Lisa Berry, and Rosie's Aventura. And it's going to be a fun as they kick us off. And Natalia Neneman and Chesterland's Brown Sugar will round out our 7 that we will see here today in this 4-star short class.
A little shot into our warm-up there. Seems to be a chestnut theme to start out the day here.
We had a lot of
4-star short.
We had a lot of brown horses in the 4 long, and here we are with the chestnuts.
Shot of Ariel there as over in the main arena, like you said, That's Me Z. Tommy Greengard ready to kick us off.
Yeah, this is a really exciting horse for Tommy, and we'll catch up with him in just a moment. He is, just an 8-year-old Zangsterscheid gelding, and Tommy has had a lot of experiences with this horse, and it's really exciting that they have made the trip to the West Coast, to the East Coast, so that we can get a glimpse of them here. This is a horse I've been able to follow throughout the series. And actually, most recently, he actually won the AEC's advanced class out in Temecula. And that was a wonderful result for those guys. And he also went to the 4-star with this horse at the event at Rebecca Farm as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we were talking about earlier. It's so nice to see these West Coast riders coming out. We were out with Tammy yesterday as we get back over to the main arena here with Tommy and his Rainback. And That's Me Z moving into the second portion of his trot work. Are seeing the full scope of the arena here at Morven Park. We've got side-by-side images there as Tommy whips around into his half pass. Trending number 1, but he also is the first in the class.
First in the class. It's a good way to lead us off.
But this horse is so beautiful. It's in such self-carriage. I mean, we talked about earlier watching some horses that are, 9, 10, 11 years old that are still developing. And this horse was just a born athlete. And I think a lot of the work that they've had to do is just to make sure that they've been, choosing things appropriate for him, not getting ahead of it because he's so game and such a lovely, lovely partner for Tommy and Andrea. Again, we said he's represented at Leon and Kentucky. Strong finish at Rebecca. Here, trending maybe a little bit higher than we would normally see. Hoping to knock off some of these points and get down into the 20s. Tommy really dominating West Coast eventing. I think, similar to what we saw with Liz Halliday, one of our very, very wonderful people that have been involved in the sport and Olympians. Liz has such a such a strong string of horses that now we see Boyd Martin riding. You'd kind of pick any of them to ride, and Tommy is really developing that reputation. All the horses in the string are very talented, good movers, good jumpers, and all look like they could be at top level sport.
Yeah.
Into his extended canter there, and you could see Tommy really doing a great job presenting the horse. He sits in such a nice upright posture and is always presenting the neck, is always pushing the horse out in front of him. You feel like there's not very much restricting happening there, and I think what we really want to see is that the horses are the stars of the show, and that's what you want to see when they get into the dance floor here. That's Me Z showing his suppleness in that half pass as he cruises around, and he's just dropped down in those 20s, Annie.
He hasn't actually. Right now they are trending for their best ever test at this level.
Just so much scope, and again, it's beautiful to see Tommy not holding the balance for the horse, really saying, go on, hold yourself, get engaged, lift the shoulder, and That's Me Z really answered that challenge beautifully.
And what an exciting 8-year-old. I mean, it's just really unbelievable. We're so lucky that they're here. We'll see if they do dip down. Their best score to date at this level was a 31.5. So we'll see if they can drop just below that.
And the
30
score that
mark.
we're waiting on is that harmony mark, and I think there was a lot of harmony in the ring right there. Tommy looks very, very excited with the finish of that test, and it's a hot competition, right? We talked about it before. There's a lot of good horses in this class, lot to play for out here at Morven Park, and very much on the pathway to build the strength and to build the endurance side of things coming here and running at Morven Park.
Yeah, this combination is actually on EckRating's Prediction Center for this 4-star short class. They are actually in the top few that are predicted to go on and do well. The Prediction Center has them about a 15% win chance. But again, it's all to play for.
If I had to put my money somewhere, I'd go with that.
Yeah.
It's a very bold horse across the country.
You know, he is. It's interesting. You know, we got to see him, as we've been following the U.S. Equestrian Open Series, you know, we got to see this horse's debut at the level, and you could see he was really bold. And then they made a really interesting decision, which I think was so smart, is they brought him to Kentucky for that 4-star short. It was only his 3rd run at the level, but he just stepped up and really answered every question, and it actually seemed like the atmosphere really helped him.
I agree. I think we were all kind of wide-eyed and interested, and I still have a vision of my head of him galloping down to the water at the end of the track, not the head of the lake, the other water, and he was on such a big open gallop. And I mean, if you could have seen like a horse decide to swan dive in a good way into the water, that's what he did. But it took the both of them being very, very brave. So it's very exciting to see him here. The horse looks like he's stepping into a new level of maturity, which is very exciting for Tommy and his team, as he looks very relaxed in this atmosphere, and we wait to give you a score.
See Leslie there just saying hello as they come back out.
You know, I think that's the thing now in team sport, is it's not about just having one good horse, it's about having several. And these guys that have the ability to have multiple horses to be competing at top venues from the East Coast to the West Coast, it takes a huge support team. It takes huge efforts on the riders and their families. As we have a score come in.
29.1. It was a lovely test, so they will lead the way here as we sort of are looking ahead to this 4-star short getting underway. But really, that is their best test at this level that they have ever done, and it was stunning.
It was stunning, and I think that's what we're seeing is just the maturity level coming up as we watch Rachel Lawson and the other end of the spectrum, the 15-year-old thoroughbred High Tide, about to canter down the center line.
It's another one of those things I love about our sport, is that really all shapes, sizes, ages, and they're all here to do the same thing.
Absolutely. I think Rachel has really prided herself and created a business around kind of the restarting of thoroughbred horses. The horse started on the track, but she introduced him into his eventing career, and she's taken him all the way through. And you just see a little bit of the tension creeping in. Got a nice uphill outline, but you can just see the tension, a little bit of the lack of rhythm. As we spoke to before, you know, Rachel knows that the dressage phase isn't always the thoroughbred's favorite phase. You know, they're bred to run and to jump, and you know, you're kind of making an agreement. I think a lot of times with the horses that don't love day one, you have to figure out your agreement. You know, if you keep it together, I'm not going to expect you to go in there with 8s and 9s, but let's just go through on some solid 6s and call it a day. And Rachel knows this horse well enough. I'm sure they have a pact in there. There he goes a little haunches in, thinking maybe we're going to do some type of half pass, and then moves over to the shoulder in. He was just getting a little ahead of himself.
How hard is it when the horses sort of start to anticipate what the next move in the test is?
I think the hard part is getting control of what you're thinking about, because I think we all have felt horses that are mind readers, and often you're thinking, don't do that, or oh my gosh, he's going to canter, he's going to trot, and what does the horse do? They canter, or they trot, or they make that mistake. I think planning ahead, when I have a horse like that, I often think, what's the energy that I want? Do I want it to be serious? Do I want it to be fun? So in that moment, I start to think about that energy, not to be weird, but I think about that energy instead of direct line thinking, because horses are masters of reading energy. That's how they communicate with each other in the field, so they can tell if your tense or tight. And often when we know our horses really well, good and bad, it's like a marriage, right? Like if you're going to predict that your husband's going to do something annoying, he's probably going to do that thing that's annoying. And so it's a little bit of that back and forth of just managing your own emotions in that state and thinking, I just want to come out here with a happy horse and keep my own emotions unaffected by the fact that the horse is being a little bit anticipating, and be more of a leader in a sense of keeping my cool. She moves around to her change. Just, I would say, stole that from her a little bit, as you spoke to, anticipating. Kind of knew it was coming and just jumped into it. She did a nice job there, because I think in that lateral movement, she actually was able to get her leg on him and kind of wrap around him a little bit. And often these hot horses talk you into taking your leg off, where you really need to give them like a big bear hug and keep your leg on and help shape them. And the canter work, just that lengthening there, just helped him take a little bit of a breath. Again, just steals that up front. Not quite being on time with the hind leg. Again, to note, the horse is almost, I think that's a characteristic of a thoroughbred, is they just try so hard. We're speaking to this earlier when we were talking about Buck's horse that was a little bit more of a warm-blooded horse, that it's hard to tell where the tension is. And then you have horses like this that they're just trying so hard it actually works against them at times. They want to do the right thing, and they're just getting a little bit ahead of the motion.
She did a really nice job of sort of like keeping it together and sort of giving him the support he needed, because again, he was anticipating stump stuff, but she seems very happy.
Yeah, I think again, she knows the little pocket rocket that she's on, and she'll be excited to head out onto the cross country on this quick little thoroughbred and give him something to do. It's times like this, you almost as a rider wish that you could do the cross country first and then come back in and do the dressage.
It might make that a little bit easier, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is so. I mean, that is the thing about our sport, is that we want them to come into this ring and be supple and soft and still have that energy and sort of show that off in the extravagance. But then we need them fit as anything on Saturday to go tackle the course. And then they have to come back Sunday and jump like show jumpers. I mean, really, these horses, we do ask an awful lot of them.
I think it's a real flexible body and a real flexible mind. I think that's the priority in eventing horses, is that instinct and that reaction needs to be pliable and flexible and kind of almost on demand per se. And I think you see it a lot in very high performing human athletes that can be incredibly fit and ready, but they're not hyped up. They're not jumping around they're conserving that energy. They're not working with nervous energy. And I think it's very similar across horses being in control of their emotional state and having confidence in their human, that it is very much a partnership. And that is also, I mean, just like humans, it's built over time, your emotional resilience, the horse's ability to manage their adrenaline, and different things that they need. Some of these horses need to go for a gallop before they do dressage, and some of the horses need to go for a hack.
Yeah.
I think it's all very unique to what's going to get them into a state that's not necessarily calm, Annie, but that's ready.
That's ready and sort of can take on the challenge ahead of them, because again, as we've seen, dressage will be more challenging for certain horses than others. And so it really is just sort of finding that balance. And I know that you as riders, I mean, you will time your warm-ups to the minute because you'll understand what's happening. Great. We are going to catch up with Sarah, who is with our clubhouse leader.
Well, that was a lovely test, Tommy. Oh, my goodness. And only 8 years old, Z.
Yeah, he was excellent. He's just 8 this year and is new to the advanced level, and he's been terrific. And this was, I think, his best test at the level.
Wow, that's cool. And you're coming fresh off an amazing win at the American Eventing Championships and come all the way from California. I mean, I think you guys are winning the long distance award here, you and Tammy.
Yeah, it's definitely up to Tammy or I, one of us. I'd be curious to look at the mileage, but it's got to be pretty close, either way.
Well, and this is your first time at Morven. What do you think so far?
Oh, it's beautiful. I got a chance to walk around the cross country yesterday, and it looks immaculate, and I love riding Derek's courses, and it looks fantastic, and we can't wait to give it a crack.
Wow, well, congratulations. That was just lovely. And best of luck the rest of the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Back up to you guys, Annie and Sinead.
We just saw scores there for Rachel Lawson as we welcome into the ring Cooley Baltic Sea and Ariel Aharoni. This pair, this is an 11-year-old Irish sport horse gelding.
Yeah, and Ariel had the wonderful Dutch times that she rode through the 5-star level, taking her up through the young rider ranks, and it's nice to see her back at top sport. Ariel spent a lot of time in the Grand Prix show jumping ring as well with her horses. She bases in New Jersey, the trainer there. And this horse produced by Wills Oakton. And I think we first saw her at the Maryland 3-star last year, I believe, and she had a cracking round. It was smooth and fast around the cross country. So now we're looking to see that this partnership is just developing more and more.
Yeah, it's so wonderful when sort of these younger riders can sort of have a horse that has done something, right, and sort of then can sort of build that partnership and sort of bring them back up the levels. It just makes such a difference for confidence, just for getting those miles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, Ariel has been riding. I mean, I think Ariel's first pony was Caroline Pamuchku's first pony. You know, I think it's just passed through the generations. So it's amazing to keep it all in the family. And Ariel's mother, Chris, has been a huge supporter of her and of her career in making sure that she's in the right places. And now she's very much independently a professional in her own right. So it's great to see her out at this level. And this test is going really nicely so far. Again, this is a little horse and maybe slightly, I would say, horizontal in the build. So again, it's important with horses like this. Over time, you're going to develop a little bit more of an uphill carriage, but if you try to change the make and model of the horse, often you'll bump up against block and brace and tension. And I think what's nice about this combination is that she very much rides this horse within his own balance. I think one of the masters of the sport who was so good at that was William Fox Pitt. You would often see him in the dressage in a slightly lower frame with the horses. Cool Mountain, who won Kentucky a fair while ago, went around like a hunter, but that was the balance that the horse was the happiest in, and you couldn't mark him down. And I think that takes some maturity to say, this is what we're working with, this is where your balance is, and we'll start there. So then that you see the balance catch up there. He just gets a little croup high and pushes himself a little downhill in that change.
This is this pair's first year at the 4-star level, so it's again very smart and sort of very deliberate, I'm sure, to come to Morven Park.
And she'd be up in New Jersey in the summer, so she'd be used to galloping on terrain and using, you know, this same type of ground to get the horses fit. So her comfort level would be, again, you've got a clean change. You know, you saw that with the marks actually from the judge at C in the previous change. She got a 6 because it was clean, but it was just croup high downhill, and it's hard from the side angles to really tell if it's come through, but kind of had the same reaction. It's just the balance that's catching up with him.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, again, we're talking about terrain and everything else. I mean, this horse, as you said, was produced by Wills Oakton. So, I mean, this horse has run around Blair and Barbary and Ballandennis. So he's definitely seen some terrain. So I feel like she will be happily sat as they head out of the box on Saturday.
Good square halt finish. So nice, consistent job there. You know, I think that's one of those tests where you kind of go, nothing really went wrong. It was smooth, it was happy, it was pleasant to watch, but to get the big marks that are going to make up for 1 or 2 of those little mistakes, it's just going to take strength and balance to come through it. You know, it's going to be one of those things that'll just take a little bit of time, but she's going to have to do a little bit more work to just eke out some of those little points here and there. And not go in for an 8 or a 9 because that's going to probably challenge the horse past its comfort level, but she just needs to be on a solid 7.
Yep. And look for those moments, as we talk about, as sort of a clean round and really sort of, again, maximize where you can. Don't give points away.
Absolutely. There you see that kind of opinionated change. Very croup high and lost in the straightness. And then she does a good job. I mean, Ariel sits so nicely. She just sits very mature. She sits up and she said, well, if you can't be balanced, I can. So I'm going to model how I want you to hold your own posture.
You're a team, and I'm going to help you. It's lovely to see, see all these riders here. We've gotten a few shots of the VIP tent and sort of so many people here on this Thursday for the dressage competition. I can't wait to see who shows up the rest of the weekend as we look forward to a wonderful weekend of sport. Not only are we running, the 4-star long, the 4-star short, but there's like young horse championships for the 6 and 7-year-olds. As we have scores come in for Cooley, Baltic Sea, and Ariel, they will go forward to cross country on Saturday on a 38.3 and slot into second in the current clubhouse. The U.S. Equestrian Open event and final is brought to you by Great American Insurance Group, the official equine insurance sponsor of the U.S. Equestrian Open. The Duda Corp, the official equine air transportation partner of U.S. Equestrian. And Yeti, built for the wild. We see coming into the arena now, Zach Brandt and Direct Advance.
Zach, another one that has come up from the south to contest here with his longtime partner, Direct Advance. They've been at the 4-star level for quite some time. I think they competed at Morven back in 2021 and have been competing at the level since 2020. And this is a really interesting horse. He's a really beautiful Irish horse, but has just been a bit tricky across the phases. He's got all the talent. He's a beautiful stamp of a horse, but he is a little difficult. You can see that tongue poking out every now and then, and unfortunately the judges can't ignore that. He's going to get dinged as that's viewed as tension, which is unfortunate because the horse is actually looking like he's going in quite a nice shape. But once you see that, then they're kind of looking for that.
And some horses just do that, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that there's tension there. It's just how they sort of process, as you were saying earlier.
If you kind of think about, like, if you were to sit here with a pen and click a pen top, or tap your fingers or drum your fingers on the table if you're thoughtful. Sometimes it can lean towards a horse just thinking about things. And sometimes it's a learned behavior. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where maybe there has been stress or tension, and then he's learned that that's how he releases that tension. And it's really hard to fix. It's a habit that's really, really hard to fix. But it looks like now, they're trying to give him good they're judging what they're seeing. I think there's a lot here that's nice, and it looks like they're not holding it against him in some of the movements that they're not seeing it. So that's quite nice because unfortunately that's there, but it's looking really lovely.
I've seen this horse a few times, and this is definitely sort of the most relaxed and sort of with Zach he's seemed.
Yeah, and he's super across the country. Sometimes he can get a little bit strong, but he's got a very good record in the show jumping as well. Zach runs a really, really busy business down in Florida with sales horses and his own string of competition horses.
This pair's last run was at the Fork at Tryon just a few weeks ago as their prep here for Morven Park.
Such a beautiful horse. I mean, whoever's grooming the horse, shout out, because you can see that shine across the field, and he's got those lovely quarter marks. Again, very relaxed in the extended walk. So to move over into our canter work. The changes have been a point of contention.
Just anticipating that strike off.
Yeah, and Zach did a really good job of just keeping it cool and waiting for the timing to be right. So skips through that. We'll see what the judges think, but definitely one of the less exuberant changes I've seen from this pair before. Or his extended down alongside. It's such a pretty picture there with the tents in the background, everybody sitting up on the berm. Really great. So anybody that's sitting at home that's thinking about coming out for the weekend, please do. The weather's meant to be fabulous. It's very spectator friendly. There's tons of signage around talking about the history of the park, talking about Tremaine Cooper, who was the designer here and so instrumental, who we lost unfortunately and very tragically a few years back. But it's just been set up so thoughtfully. So please come out and join us on the weekend and watch these beautiful horse and rider combinations. One of the greatest weekends of sport. That comes around to his final trot work. And Annie, I think he's done a really nice job. I think it's always a journey, right? And every time you can take a horse like this that's had some struggles in this arena and have a very good experience, which overall this experience has been very nice for the horse, very pleasant. He's been agreeable and rideable. Zach's sitting up really nicely. The outline of the horse, the shape of the horse looks lovely. Is a good day.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, Zach's ridden that beautifully, and, his buddy Roscoe really stayed on side, and they looked like a wonderful partnership. And, again, the little things with, like, the tongue and other things, but it is the most relaxed I've seen the horse, and it's lovely to see them come out and have such a good start to the weekend.
And I think a lot of these horses, these seasoned competitors like this, are really using this as a fitness run, because some of these horses will head down to Terra Nova for the 4-star long in November. And often horses like this that have run on more flat ground are coming up here to use the short as a fitness pull, as a challenge to see where they're at, competing against some of the top riders, against the top venues, right? Because often here in this sport, Annie, I'm sure you agree, you're kind of competing against yourself and you're competing against the course, right? You're competing against the test. It doesn't feel as much that you're competing against the other athletes.
No, I think that's exactly right. I mean, even speaking to Philip Dutton a few weeks ago, he said, if someone beats me, like, good on them. He's like, because it just means I have other things I need to work on. And, we're sort of, they had a different kind of day than I did. And I do think that is one of the amazing things about this sport, and about, you'll see riders helping each other sort of in the cross-country warm-up, feedbacking to each other. It is very much that sort of community feel, because they know it's a hard sport. And again, it's sort of your test is against the course on Saturday, and again, even just this test here.
Absolutely. And when you come up to some place like this, it's more about just seeing where the bar is.
Mm-hmm.
We're so fortunate to have so many amazing events, but this country is huge, and in Europe you have a ton of events, but people are really meeting, the top in the sport are really meeting quite often. And here we need amazing venues like this to pull people from the West Coast and the East Coast, pull people up from Florida to meet at this one place. And then the whole, a raising tide, lifts all ships, right? And so I think that's a lot of why people like Zach bring their horse up here and travel however many, 15, 16, 17 hours to get the fitness run, to challenge themselves to the track and see where they're at.
It's really wonderful. We'll have a score in just a moment for Zach Brandt and Direct Advance. They will start their weekend on a 40.2. They slot into third place in the clubhouse. Again, that is actually right on board, just a little bit lower than where this pair has been in the past. So I think Zach should be very pleased with that. We are going to welcome into the ring as we see the shiny Direct Advance. And it looks just stunning. As we see him look out there. Again, all the judges' marks fairly close together. Again, it's just based on where they're positioned in the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the judge at H has a really hard time. You're kind of getting a side slice of everything. Then, C can see straightness, and the judge at the side can really see the lateral suppleness. So we're using that as a collective intelligence around the ring to get one score.
Lovely shot of the facilities here as we see Sarah Beth Anton and Go-Go as they are preparing. This is a 10-year-old Irish sport horse owned by Melissa Town. These two actually just stepped up to the 4-star level a few weeks ago at Stapleview. And they had a great run there. Clean jumping. They actually have a phenomenal cross-country record. But again, just stepped up to the 4-star short. So this will be a second 4 stars. They had you know, head into the weekend.
And obviously, this is the class for chestnuts.
Yes.
So if you have a chestnut, come on out. Down center line, staring Peter Gray. Really nice halt there. Another little horse that looks very similar to
Ariel's
horse that came in. A little bit of that style that's a little horizontal. It's got a lot of cadence and a lot of scope in the step, but it's going to be more managing balance. A little argumentative in the contact. Like to see a little more angle in that half pass, or sorry, in that shoulder, and you kind of want about 30 degrees off the rail there. And we want to be careful that she's not haunches leading. What we talked about earlier is that you really want the pattern of things to get the shoulders on unlocked and up so the rib cage can be soft so the power can come through. Horses often their natural tendency is to block in the shoulder when they start to lose their balance, which is what you see with this horse a little bit. And then that power can't come through from behind and he just starts to block a little bit in the rib cage, a little bit in the shoulder just to keep his own balance. So that's what she's fighting with again. And as you spoke to earlier, just stepping up to this level, trying to get that amount of suppleness so you can execute these moves, and also being new to the level as the rider, just getting the positioning correct before you let that power come in. And you just have to do it. You just have to get in there and do it.
Yeah, ring time really makes the difference, right? Like you cannot replicate this type of environment at home and sort of, you know, you could ride your test a bunch of times, but until you're in here, you just got to go do it.
Yeah, and I think when you're training at home, even when you're, you know, taking lessons all the time, often you can do things in your own timing. When you have good feel, you can do it when you feel like things are ready. Test movements happen now, and you don't always feel like you're ready for them to happen right now, especially when you're managing a half halt or a balance, because this horse looks actually very relaxed and very soft. Like you can see in this walk, this is super. And because it's not a power gait, right? She doesn't have to have that push, and so she's relaxed, and then you see all the swing and all the softness that forecasts what is possible, which is very exciting because, again, watching this horse come in, the step is really nice. There's a lot of suspension to the trot. It's just going to be developing the balance and the suppleness to support that.
Was lucky there. He didn't anticipate it. We've seen a few sort of start to anticipate in that change.
Oh, just kind of ran through that behind. And that's a little bit what we saw in the first movements of the shoulder in, when he got a little out of balance and then came up to solve it, right? So there he came up in the front end and went out in the back end. And Sarah stayed in the middle. Good job lengthening. Oh, and then just again, just kind of comes back to the trot. It's just hard. The collection there is really hard for him to sit. There he needs to push down, his bum down, so his hocks come down and the front end comes up, and he says it's just way easier to trot. So that is unfortunately going to really be painful for the score. And again, there it's easier for him to walk.
And that's just strength, right? I mean, he's just a 10-year-old. So again, so much to come because there's so many moments that are lovely and you can really see the potential.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's just strength and balance. I mean, which sounds like such a simple solution, but it takes years.
It's kind of like our own strength and balance.
I was born an athlete. Don't tell my gym instructor I said that.
Well, she'll be really pleased with that. Again, it's probably more atmosphere than this horse would have seen at stable view or anything else. And really, I think this is the first horse that Sarah has stepped up to the 4-star level. Yeah. So a really exciting combination. And it's, you know, they've had a great record at the 3-star level and hoping to build on that at this level.
Totally. And I think that's one of the things as you kind of endure in the sport not to sound negative, is that, you know, we always hope to go out there and feel like that's going to be, you know, something amazing is going to show up on the day. But, you know, that's the ebb and flow of the sport. You kind of come out, and if you don't have it at home, you're probably not going to have it here. But it does look like this horse and rider are quite, you know, not anxious in the ring. It's just getting stronger. So I think she looks maybe a little disappointed.
Probably with some of those breaks and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, really, you know, exciting horse for the future. And I mean, to have him this relaxed here, sort of first time in this kind of atmosphere, hopefully she feels good about that, because you can always build on the other things. But yeah, it's got to be so hard as a rider to come into a weekend like this. You know, we always think about expectations for the weekend, right? And I think it's making sure you're realistic. So score for these two is a 44.8. They will slot into 4th place. And I think we're going to join Sarah, who is ringside with one of our recent riders.
Full of run out there in the dressage.
Yeah, he's ready to gallop.
Well, thank goodness, because that's a serious cross-country course out there.
Yeah, no, honestly, we're lucky to come up here from Florida and be able to run on some serious terrain and a serious track like this, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And this is that you haven't been back to Morven for a few years now, but you were here on Roscoe in the 4 long, right?
Yeah, 4 years ago I came and did the 4 long on him, and so yeah, glad to be back.
Yeah, we're glad to have you back, and well done and good luck this week.
Thanks, Sarah.
Lovely to hear from Zach there and his wonderful partner Roscoe, as we will welcome in Lisa Berry and Rosie's Aventura. This is a 13-year-old Irish sport horse, Dutch warm blood mare, and it's lovely to see Lisa back here at this venue with this lovely mare.
Yeah, and Lisa has spent so much time in this area around Leesburg and Middleburg, having worked for David and Karen O'Connor for quite some time, and had her own business set up here. This is actually a homebred of Lisa's, which is so cool. And she's done a really, really good job in this phase with Rosie. It hasn't come as naturally to her as the jumping and the cross country. And Lisa, in her own right, has spent a lot of time at this level. She's had a few different horses come through the advanced and 4-star level. And it's just got to be nice to be back in here on one that you know so well.
Yeah, I mean, homebred, you know everything about them.
It's the worst, though, because you think everything good that they do is, you know, as a result of your training, and everything
Yes.
bad that they do
It's also a result of your training.
Yeah.
But there's no open questions like Leslie had with banjo or anything like
Yeah.
that, because you know why something is the way it is.
Exactly. This is a really big mare. You can tell she's quite long from front to back. She's very good, very adjustable, very cat-like on the cross country, but she does find the collection in this phase and the throughness a little bit tricky. You know, when we talk about throughness, I kind of picture that sometimes like the energy coming up from the hind legs over the back, up through the top line to the hand, and then you can recycle it or direct it or shape it however you'd like. You can kind of see her that the energy comes from the back over the top, and it's just a little less like a beach ball and a little bit flatter than you would like it to be, where for the big marks, you know, you just want to have that arc through the body a little bit more so that she can use all the power that she naturally has to have a little more lift in the step. But again, we were talking about it earlier, Annie, is that a lot of stuff is a compromise. And when you go against how their body is naturally built, sometimes you get more stress and block than it's worth. Super walk.
Looks so relaxed in a big stride there.
Really, really nicely turned out. You can see how that tail
That
is
tail.
banged so perfectly.
Really lovely picture there. And, oh, just a trot step, anticipating that strike off.
Yeah. It's so hard. That's a little bit, again, when the horse can just read your mind. You can see all Lisa was doing was trying to get a little collection for that canter strike off. And Rosie said, let's go. I'm ready. In there, see how she's really ready to extend. That's what you'll see out there on Saturday across the country, her ability to really move up to the fences. And Lisa's a really game cross-country rider, and she really attacks out there. She's, you know, she's doing a nice job here, just kind of trying to keep it all under wraps. Again, a little muddled there just because it's unfortunately the mare doesn't quite let Lisa collect her in a way that would make that change easier. The lateral suppleness, as often on longer horses, is actually a lot easier. They can bend through the rib cage easier than they can sit down behind. Whereas in those sideways movements, she can really get that step and the scores a little bit better. Nice halt.
Lovely halt.
Really nice way to finish there.
Please, big smiles and wave to the ground jury. Again, the mare looks very relaxed, ears floppy. I've actually been amazed how relaxed a lot of these horses have been. There is quite a lot going on up the hill. You know, I know sometimes when the rings are closer, you can feel it a bit more, but they've all been handling it very well.
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, yesterday these horses had a chance for the ring familiarization. They could come in and work around the arena. And often, you know, that you feel like they're fine because they were good in the ring familiarization, but they're also in there with 20 of their closest friends, you know. But the warm-up ring being quite close to the actual field of play here, I think does make a difference, is that they're not trotting down a ramp into a big ring by themselves, which is what you'll see often at Kentucky or at Maryland. You leave the warm-up arena and you go up there and you are all alone, which I think is quite stressful for the horses. It's really interesting. I was doing an interview with one of the para-Olympic coaches, and in certain levels of para, they actually allow a friend horse to come in and stand next to the arena. They can't do anything, but they can stand next to the arena so that the para horse is able to just feel comfortable in that space and do their job, which I thought was really fascinating.
That is incredible. And again, as you say, that is kind of probably how some of these guys feel as well, that someone is close, that they're not sort of all alone. It is interesting to hear the barns are so close to the arena, which sometimes is good, maybe sometimes bad. I know sometimes on Saturday when they leave the start box, they literally are leaving the barns, basically. So sometimes people have to really go out there. It is fascinating. We'll bring you a score for Lisa in just a moment here, as she's just getting checked out by the FEI stewards there.
Yeah, you can see she's got that ear bonnet on, you know, and that's a lot of the horses here are affected by the gnats or the flies, and they can get a little head shaky, and all that the steward is checking for is that they've got these little pom-poms that you can put in the ears that just muffle the sound, and it's not legal for the dressage. It's actually legal for the jumping, but for the dressage it's not. So you can see her just checking that, and then checking her spur length and making sure that's all okay and all appropriate.
Here we get a score in for Lisa Berry and Rosie's Aventura. Judge at H, 56.9. Judge at C, 61.9. Judge at B, 64.29 for a score of 39. That will slot them into third place at this point in the competition. So we've got That's Me Z, our first in the ring, is still holding strong on a 29.1.
Yeah, by a big, big margin.
Yes. And, you know, it's interesting. I think that's actually at quite a margin at the AECs as well. So there's a look at our leaderboard. Ariel right behind him on a 38.3. Lisa Berry, 39.0. Zach Brand on a 40.2. Sarah Anton, 44.8. And Rachel Lawson on a 46.9. So really those, you know, second through sixth are all pretty tightly bunched there. As we will welcome in to the ring our last to go today in this division. We will be back tomorrow with more action from the 4-star short and long. But right now we will welcome in Natalia Neneman and Chesterland's Brown Sugar.
Yeah, this horse actually bred by Bruce Davidson. Natalia, a long-time student of Buck Davidson. She is down in Florida, running her business down in Florida with her husband is a course builder. And her son, Jay, is he builds bug houses and tree houses and all the things
Amazing.
that, I believe he's 6, all the things that they do. So it's awesome to have Natalia back at the level. Like I said, has kind of a thriving business and is developing quite a string.
And this little horse is, as you say, was bred by Bruce, but is a thoroughbred Irish sport horse. 10-year-old mare. So, and just stepping up to the 4-star level.
I think this mare is really, really good across the country. It'll be a big test for her. I think she feels very excited to have brought the horse up here a couple of times to the Northern Virginia, Pennsylvania area to compete. Got to go backwards, girl. And all of this is part of the journey of building the relationship and career with this horse. The first day isn't their best day yet. But again, it's about preserving the horse's comfort level in the arena as the body and the mind start to develop and get more supple and used to the movements. It's always so nice to see mares competing at the top level of sport too, because you just feel like they could really contribute as well as their careers carry on. We've seen so many great mares, and I think that's a amazing feeling when you get a really good, really game mare on side. It really feels like you can do anything.
Yeah, my mom rode a wonderful mare for a long time, and she said, she just felt like she'd go to battle for you. And I think, we ask our horses to do a lot, and they have to be so brave and to trust us. But as you say, once you get them on side, there's not much better.
Like Natalia's going to have a little bit of her work cut out for her here in the walk. You can see a little jump in the step there, but so far she's been brave. She's let that rein out. I think right now I'd be kind of trying to breathe out and relax, because I think where the struggle is going to come is when she shortens that rein for the canter transition. You might get a little bobble. This is where Michael Young is so masterful, and he just wouldn't even pick the reins up. He'd just go from that free walk and pick up the canter and pick them up once he was going, whenever he felt like any of the horses, the great Fisher Rakana that he rode would have this little bounce in that extended walk, and you would see him just go from that loose rein to the canter.
That is brave.
Yeah.
I think maybe he might be the only one who's brave enough to do that.
Nice change. And it's so good when those changes are just naturally there, because she didn't probably have the connection or the setup she would have loved to have, but the change came through really well. And the suppleness here in the canter, it looks a lot more the best gait, the favorite gait of this horse. And I think that's the thing, is that you want the walk and the canter. You say you can always develop the trot, but our sport's a jumping sport, and we jump out of the canter, so that needs to be good. It needs to be balanced. It needs to be athletic, and you can really see this. She snuck that change in earlier, and it was still clean, but this horse looks like a different horse in the canter. The shape has come up, the balance has come up. There's animation and athleticism in the step. So you can see why, in being a young horse and new to the level, that the jumping phases probably come pretty easy.
Yeah, I got to see this pair at Plantation a few weeks ago in their final run in a 3-star, and they looked super across the country. And again, terrain, all those things. And, Natalia's been, as you said, very deliberate. She's run this horse at Bromont and sort of other places, setting up for something like this.
Yep. We're so lucky in our sport that there's full seasons down south and full seasons up north, and you can do a little of everything or back and forth, but it is very easy to stay in your comfort zone and out, down south, and not come up and contest these things until you feel 100% ready. But to use it in a way, if a horse is capable and you feel like you're not going to wreck their confidence by over-facing them, but to come up and get them used to it during their development, it's very deliberate, like you said.
Yeah, it's lovely to see Natalia here again. Exciting mare, and so much to like in that. So much to like, and she was feeling a little spicy, but
but she kept it together. You could you could see that a little bit in the canter, just that animation to the gait.
Yeah. Just having a leisurely stroll out there.
She's really happy. It's so great to be here and competing at this competition. And Natalia is just the funniest girl. She is always laughing and joking and smiling, and very, very quick-witted. She's great to have on the tour, and somebody that's always enjoyable to chat with along the way. So she'll be really pleased with that. I'm sure Coach Buck is around watching, and always a great cheerleader. I think I was saying to someone the other day, if you have Buck on speed dial, you're a lucky person because
Yeah.
he's the best person to talk to if something's going good, something's going bad, you don't know what to do. Buck is the person to call. I'll give you guys all his phone number.
Everyone be ready to have Buck as your cheerleader now.
But
I know it's interesting, I mean, Jess Phoenix was talking the other day about a horse she has that's tricky, show jumping, and she said, Buck came after her after competition and said, hey, I have an idea, I've had the same kind of problem. And, again, Buck is that person, but I also think our sport is sort of full of those people because you want to help and you want to see your fellow competitors figure out those things that are tripping you up potentially.
Well, no mistake is a new one.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Somebody's done it before. Even if you feel like you're the only person that's done it.
Yes.
Somebody's done it before. Some horse has done that before, and somebody knows. So to be open and be able to discuss that within the community is really great. And again, having, Buck has ridden so many different horses, and he's always a great one to have there. And you see Natalia chatting with the stewards, and the horse just so relaxed and scratching his face.
So great as we have a score come in for Natalia and Chesterland's Brown Sugar. They will move forward to cross country on a 40.6, and they will be in 5th place overnight as we are wrapping up the 4-star dressage here, the first part of the dressage here at Morven Park International. Here we are with our lattice off, Tommy Greengard, and that's Missy.
What a fantastic test to watch. I mean, when you watch this, you just think dressage is easy.
Right. Simple as that.
It just sit up nicely, present the horse, do the movements, but just such confidence and self-carriage, and in a real independent self-carriage that comes together. Tommy sits so nicely, the horse is presented so well, and together it's a perfect pair. So very exciting for him and for Andrea Pfeiffer, his part owner in several of these horses, and a great day of sport to kick us off on the first day of several.
There's our overnight results as we sort of wrap up the first chunk of this 4-star short here again. Tommy Greengard and that's me, Z. And we are going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back with more from Morven Park.
You never had a sauce like mine, and you never will. Because my sauce is only for dogs.
You don't have a Nona to make sauce for your dog, but you do have new pedigree drizzlers. It's sauce for dogs.
U.S. Equestrian. Thousands of equestrians have united
to watch, to learn, to experience, to compete. In the pursuit of fairness, safety, welfare, and joy.
From the grassroots to the Olympic Games.
Each with personal goals, but all united together for the joy of horse sports.
Ride united. Ride with U.S. Equestrian.
Different dogs have different needs, like skin and coat, mobility support, and healthy digestion. That's why Ein's Advanced Health has different formulas, so every dog can be a healthy dog.
U.S. Equestrian members and fans get access to amazing member perks and discounts, like 20% off tires at Goodyear Tires, 35% off paints from Sherwin-Williams, discounts on mowers and equipment from John Deere, and so much more. Become a free USEF fan and unlock your member perks today.
The U.S. Equestrian Open eventing final is brought to you by Great American Insurance Group, the official equine insurance sponsor of the U.S. Equestrian Open. the Dutta Corp, the official equine air transportation partner of U.S. Equestrian, and Yeti, built for the wild. We are going to catch up with Sarah, who is ringside.
Hi, I'm standing here with Hannah Sue Holberg, who had 2 beautiful cross-country rounds, well, actually, dressage as well, here last year in the 4-star short. So I thought I'd ask her, why do you come to Morven, and what do you think is challenging about this cross-country course?
The terrain here is amazing. It really prepares the horses for, their careers after this, and the atmosphere is beautiful. They really dress it up, and it's such a nice event, and it's just, the weather's so nice too. Last year was beautiful as well, so it's just the event to come to. I think it's such a great staple for the end of the year.
For sure. And didn't you remember last year it was cold as well for the dressage? Like we had a sudden change in temperature, and we had that today. How much do you think that impacted some of these horses?
Absolutely. I think it's been really warm, and then all of a sudden it's quite crisp this morning and a bit windy, and with all the flags that are really beautiful to see, it lights the horses up sometimes, so I think it does make a difference.
Well, you have to put in a good dressage test here, of course, but at the end of the day, the cross country is going to be a big factor, and so will Chris Barnard show jumping. So, yeah, well, thank you very much, Hannah, and I wish you best of luck on Mr. Hachi and the 2-star.
Yay, thank you so much.
Sinead, we have just wrapped up the 4-star short dressage for today. I can't believe we've made it through the 4 long, the 4 short. Looking ahead to tomorrow, we've got some big hitters still coming in the 4-star long in the U.S. Equestrian Open final.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got some big scores to come. Tomorrow we have Boyd, we have Ryan Wood on his 2nd horse, we've got Caroline, and we've got the famous Timmy and Will Coleman on his 2nd ride tomorrow, which he is going to be really fighting for a top spot on that horse.
Yeah, the Prediction Center for Mac Ratings has Boyd Martin and Mixmaster C and Will Coleman and Off the Record both on a 20% win chance. They are going to battle it out tomorrow. I cannot wait to see those 2 go. It's been a lovely day here. I think, it started off a bit cooler. The weather's getting a bit warmer. I think it's been interesting talking to the riders as they've had a chance to take a walk around the cross-country course. It feels like people are excited, but maybe...
Yeah, I think, it's a Derek track. I think we all know Derek at this point. Everybody here has probably ridden around a Derek track, so I think there's a lot of talk in the barn. There's a lot of conversation. I think there's a lot of places out there you could get caught out, but there's still 1 full day of dressage left to go, so we have to get that done. And so we'll have a little think about tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope everyone will tune in tomorrow because it's going to be a wonderful day. Again, we will kick off with the 4-star short, and we will conclude the day with the rest of the U.S. Equestrian Open Eventing Final, which will follow the 4-star short again. We will please tune back in at 10 a.m. tomorrow so you can catch up with the rest of the 4-star short dressage. Beautiful shot there of Morven. Again, we are here for the we are here again for the U.S. Equestrian Open of Eventing Final. What a venue we have. So for Sinead Halpin-Maynard, Sarah Kozublik, I am Annie Bishop saying so long from the U.S. Equestrian Open in Leesburg, where the leader following day number 1 is Philip Dutton and Sant in the 4-star long. And in the short, it's Tommy Greengard, and that's me, Z.